Hello sports fans, Chris Durrell here with DFSR.com, bring you a tutorial video for NBA season now that we're in full swing. I'm going to be looking at a combination of my cheat sheet along with the tools over on DFSR.com. Before we get going, if you're not a DFSR member, make sure to get over to the website. It's either dailyfantasysportsrankings.com or for short, DFSR.com. You can see all of our free content up on the site here. If you just scroll down, you can look at our NFL Cash article, our NBA Daily article, our podcasts. We have our NFL Top Bets coming up here, GPP article for NFL Injury Report, PGA, NASCAR articles coming up when those sports come back. And then when you get into the advanced tools on the website, you can go into the player lab. This is going to take you, if you're not a member, to the sales page. It's going to kind of show you everything that we offer. And if you scroll down to the bottom, we have two options for you. The classic $14.95 is just your basic projections. It gives you access to my cheat sheets, gives you access to the members chat room. Upgrading to the Pro for $29.95 gives you all of that, plus it gives you access into our player lab as well as our advanced projections and lineup optimizer tools. Right now we got a free week going on, so sign up today. You're going to get a free week to check everything out. You're going to get Week 17 NFL. You're going to get all the sheets that I provide. You're going to get the optimizer tool for NBA. And going back to the homepage here, we have tools, the projections and optimizer tool for NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, and PGA. And then me personally on the sheet side, I have sheets for almost any sport that is in existence. With that, let's dig in. So first we're going to go look at the NBA cheat sheet. Tell you a little bit about it. It's just a compilation of stats and stuff that I use every day that I update. It shows you, we're going to start out the team matchup tab. Pretty much just shows you every team, Vegas information for that game, each team's standings, their scoring, points, points per game, points allowed per game, team pace, which is possessions per 48 minutes, and then I've got it here, the numbers that you see are above or below league average. Same goes for offensive and defensive efficiency. Offensive efficiency is points per 100 possessions, and defensive efficiency is points allowed per 100 possessions. And then, of course, the numbers that I display here are above or below league average. And then we got per game totals for those teams as well. So this is kind of where I start my day. Looking, first of all, at the Vegas totals to kind of see which are going to get high totals, close spreads, which teams we're going to concentrate the most on when building our player pools. And I'm going to kind of look at some team stats, pace, definitely team offensive efficiency versus the opposition's defensive efficiency. Like, for instance, Milwaukee is a plus 15 here on their own offensive efficiency, while the defensive efficiency of Miami right now is 6.9 points below the league average. So that's one thing that stands out. So that's where I start building my player pool. Then I start digging into the All Players tab. This shows every single position, and for DraftKings, it's going to show you the multi-position eligibility, so you're able to find that and locate that easily. We've got pricing for both sites, percentage of the salary cap for both sites. My basic projections, they're nothing like DFSR, but just kind of a basic projection. Looking at, like per minute statistics, so that when I change the minutes in the back end, it's going to also change that projection as well. And that's something I do closer to lock for both my sheet as well as help out with DFSR as well, 3 days a week. So then we've got stats, which are now rolled over to this season. We got the Vegas totals here for the players as well. And then over on the right, we've got, again, the team statistics of team offense efficiency versus the opponent's defensive efficiency. So you can kind of look at that from an individual player level, but also from the team level at the same time. Same with pace, and then we've got injuries over here as well, and I kind of comb through that throughout the day. So when I start narrowing down my player pool, also you can go through each and every position. This one just showing all positions, but you can actually go and break it down if you're if you're picking just out a point guard or something like that. You can go down here at the bottom: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. Later in the day, I do have a friend. He comes in and he fills out his position ranks for the day, top 5 at each position on the sheet. And then that is also for members only. And then starting lineups is something I update as they confirm starting lineups start coming in. Check them off as they're starting. And then kind of change it around. It's going to show you the minutes projection and DraftKings FanDuel information there as well. So when I start getting my player pool narrowed down, that's when I jump over to DFSR and I start diving into the tools here. So we're going to start with the basic tool because there has been some changes. Not sure if everyone's familiar with it yet, so I kind of want to go over what the differences are going to be between the basic basketball lineup optimizer tool, which is up here at the top. Once we open it, most of you, if you're a member, you're going to be familiar with this. You've got your player pool, position, team, how many minutes they're projected for, all the positions. You've got DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, number of lineups. We can go by slate if we want. We can X off single games or just single teams that we want in and out of our player pools. We can filter by salary, like for instance, if you want to build a little bit more balanced lineup and avoid those stars and scrubs lineup, you can maybe take this below and just say maybe like 9,700 we want our max. We don't want to go below, let's say, 5,000 on DraftKings, and all that's going to do is just shrink our player pool up top here. Then when we get all that in there, we can then go ahead, hit optimize. On DraftKings Optimizer, you actually have to make 2 moves, so either have to lock 2 players, lock 1 player, X another. One kind of thing that I usually do is when I've gone through my sheet and nailed down my player pool, I will lock that player in to the lineup. So let's just say, for instance, one of my favorites tonight is Kevin Durant. Oh, it's not coming up here. I will have to... There it is. Lock in Kevin Durant, and then I'll just go to another position, scroll to the bottom. One of the lower projected guys, probably not, possibly playing. Jared Allen, I don't want any of him. So then we hit optimize. It's going to create a lineup for us, as many as we've requested up here. And then one thing you can do once you get to this point, once you've created your first set of lineups, is kind of just comb through, see what players show up. The red number beside each player shows you what the exposure is across however many lineups. So I did 10. So the guys that are 100% here, they're in 100% of those 10 lineups. 60%, they're in 6 of 10, 70, 7 of 10, and so on. And that's going to change, obviously, if you go up to 50 lineups. So let's just say, for instance, we didn't want Murray 100%. We go find Murray up here under point guard, and we can set a limit on him. So we can actually go a limit of 5, recalculate. And depending on the algorithm, he should be down. So it's not always going to be exact for you, depending on the algorithm and what other filters you have set. So actually right now that's lowered him to 3 out of 10. So it really depends what other players are in your player pool to allow that to happen, if the rules allow that. So if you ever see that it's not exact, it's just because of some of the filters that you maybe got, chosen on the side or whatever. It's going to get you as close as you can. Then you can just start playing around with that for one or all of the players. If you get a player in the lineup that you don't want, say you don't want Zubats, you go and you just X him out, recalculate. He's not going to show up in any of the lineups, and you can just kind of play along with this as you go. If you get a set of 10 that you really like, hit export. It's going to give you a CSV file. From there, you can either reload that back in, or you can reload that over to DraftKings and actually put that right in your lineups. So that's your basic tool. This is also a huge advancement from what we had in years past as well to the tool. So calling this one basic now means a lot to what we're going to look at here shortly, which is the NBA Player Lab. Some of you have used it in the past, some of you haven't. What you've noticed in the past is you had to go and create your player pool, transfer it over to the lineup optimizer, and then go there. There's an extra step you had to take now. It's all on one screen. So pretty much you're getting exactly what you've seen on the other screen. Same filters here, same filters over here in terms of games, slate, teams, stacks. But now you're getting the Player Lab right over here on the right. So for instance, if you just want to target, you want players in your player pool in games that have a 225 or greater Vegas over under, you can do that. It's going to narrow those players. Say you still want to go balanced, you can bring that down. Let's bring that up a bit. Let's go 5,000 again like we had before, but now we're only targeting games with a high over-under. Field goals attempted per game, you can really well-rested teams, that's guys that aren't on a back-to-back. It's going to maybe eliminate those, or guys that have 1, 2, 3 days of rest. Defense versus point guard. You can have all these filters in here, and you're pretty much doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to go find Durant again. Then we're just going to go down. We'll do Jared Allen again just because he showed up. Run the first set with the filters that we have established. And that's the lineup that we get so far. So still it's giving us Murray 90%. Say George, we want to get him a little bit more. Something else that you can do instead of just using the limits is just search the player's name. We're going to find Paul George here. We've got him at 53.37. You can just click on that. Now you can't do it down here. You have to do it up here in the player pool. But you click on that and you can put in whatever you want. So I'll just run these again here. Paul George limit 1. I click on that. We're going to erase that and we're going to go say 55. Hit enter. Now he's at a 55 projection. We got to take that limit off. Back to 0. And as you can see, he is at 10%, but he is in the main lineup. So it does like that, putting that together. So if you wanted to get him all, okay, yeah, I like him. You can either lock him in or you can just keep bumping up his projection. Give him 58. And you can kind of play around. You can see in the line that how close a player is to, yeah, see now just moving that up 3 more DK points puts him in 100% of the lineups. So you can really start playing around with the projection and see how little of change in a projection takes for a player to go from 10% in 10 lineups, 1 out of 10 lineups to 10 out of 10 lineups. It's a very thin line. So just because we don't see a player that shows up in DK1 or FanDuel 1 in terms of the lineup optimizer doesn't mean we're necessarily against that player at all. It's just the algorithm. That's what it's really putting together. It's fractions of points sometimes between these players. So I do suggest playing around with these filters and using them to your advantage to create player pools every single day, because every single slate is going to be different. Our projections obviously come from a cash game / floor outlook, so keep that in mind when you're looking at it. So when I'm playing around for GPP, once my cash games are set, I'm just going to reset the page here and start fresh, clear all these filters out. So I talked about Durant. Definitely I'm just going to keep locking him. I'm just going to keep scrolling down, Xing out a player. See what that spits out for me. So I want to put a limit on Murray. Not that high. I'm not 90% exposure high on Murray today. So I'm going to go and I'm going to limit him to 3 lineups. That's what we put him at. Even if we went up to 5, it's going to give him down to 3. That starts getting LeBron James in there a little bit in the first lineup. So your 3 lineups with Murray are now moved around. They're not in the top optimal lineup. You can see what the projected score of said lineup is, and it's going to rank them 1 through 10 that way, looking at the scoring. So you can kind of play around with a lot of this stuff. LeBron James, let's just say a player that maybe isn't showing up in lineups that we think has upside, maybe isn't safe. Let's just say, for instance, CJ McCollum. Let's say we think he has a 50-point ceiling tonight. Building GPP lineups, you throw a 50 in there and just see where he comes out in terms of the optimizer. That's quite a huge upgrade, but I mean, that's, like I said, these are floor projections. So he shows up at 100, obviously. So these are floor projections, what base projections that you're going to see. And as you adjust those, you can really start playing around with the player's upside. The players that aren't as safe aren't normally going to be showing up in the optimizer. You're going to mostly get your safe floor players, safe players with minutes. So if you maybe see a player that we're projecting for, say, 23, 24, 28 minutes, you think he can maybe get 35 minutes in this matchup tonight, you can figure out that percentage and just move his projection up 5, 10, 15%, whatever it may be, and change it here, and it just totally changes the lineups that the optimizers are going to spit out for you. If you have any questions about the optimizer or anything at all, make sure to reach out in the members chat room. My name again is Chris. I cover a ton of sports with the guys at DFSR here. Doug and James are your head men. Those are the guys that you're going to turn to if you have any problems. James at DFSR.com, support at DFSR.com. If there's anything that you notice with anything you want us to look at, suggestions of things to add, definitely hit us up there in the chat room. Email at dailyfantasysr on Twitter. I'm at Jaeger_bombs9 on Twitter. With that, let's go get some green screens. Let's go build some winning lineups. Good luck, everyone.